Now do you get why I don't like Sting and Rogue? Anime only viewers, do you see it now? Before I get on with this rant video, just quickly want to mention the opening and ending, the new ones that just came out for Fairy Tail. I love the opening, the new opening. I like it even better than the last one. The style that they use, the way it looks, the animation, the art, the clips that they use. A lot of spoilers. I don't know why they decided to go that route, or they should have debuted it next week instead of this week, but it looks really awesome. I love the new opening. The ending, it was forgettable. It was just there. It was like, whatever. It didn't really matter, but the new opening is, oh, I love that one. With all that being said, this week's episode of Fairy Tail, it wasn't only the manga that dropped the ball with this one. I don't know what the anime was thinking with shoving every last battle and fight into one episode, not giving proper space for each and every one of them. And the funny thing is, with all these fights, especially ones that were very controversial, like the Jura and Laxus one, instead of using like an entire episode to flesh it out with like some of the filler that they've been doing, the in-canon filler, no, they're not going to do that. They'll do that for the executioners, the shitty executioners. They will give them time to get a little bit more hype and a little bit more like, oh man, you know, they came back so they weren't defeated that easily. But the Laxus versus Jura, which so many people were fucking going crazy over. Me personally, I still stand by, I wasn't that bothered by it in the manga. But how is it that I felt the manga did that fight better than the anime? The anime, it was 2 punches. 2 punches! No, okay, 3 punches. The first one where Laxus got knocked down, the second one where he uppercutted him, and then the third one when he finished him off. How do you do that fight with 3 fucking punches? It didn't even seem as though it was off screen that the rest of the fight happened, because in the manga, one of the things that came into my mind, I was thinking a big portion of that fight was done off screen, and it was kind of like you would every now and then see them struggling and stuff like that. But in the anime, it was like 3 punches. 3! What the fuck were they thinking? How it's bad when one of the fights that I appreciated the most was the comedy fight with Gray and Juvia, because at least we had a Groovia moment, and that was somewhat progression into their relationship or whatever. But that's bad when the comedy fight is the fight that I think did the most justice. The Erza versus Minerva. Minerva got owned very easily. Erza looked badass as fuck. I like the way Erza looked or whatever. But then to see Minerva crying on the ground. I don't even remember if that was in the manga or not. Her crying there on the ground, stripped butt-ass naked. I didn't mind seeing that. But why the fuck is Minerva crying on the ground after getting her ass whipped? It's just like this episode solidified the fact that Sabretooth is pathetic. Because the granddaddy of them all, out of everything that happened, the granddaddy of them all, the worst offender, is Sting. Sting, he was like, yo, I got this shit in the bag. They're all fucked up. I'm going to take them all out. I'm going to show them these new powers I got because my kitty cat is gone. And he gives up, and he just starts crying. I was like, you bitch-ass motherfucker. You bitch-ass worthless wannabe Dragon Slayer. You will never, ever be on Natsu's level. And again, I'm not a Natsu fanboy. I'm not that big of a Natsu fan in general. But you will never be Natsu. Ever. Ever. It was just a disgusting display when he just gave up. At least try. It was supposed to be this whole thing about feelings and this is not the time for me to do this. And I was just like, fuck off, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? Just fight, you stupid ass motherfucker. This episode pissed me off, as you can probably tell, because I was hoping that the anime could fix up some of the content from the manga, but it just crammed all the last few shitty things into one. Like, the defeat of Sting was just like, oh my fucking god. And then he's like, yay, my cat is back. He did all of this and cried and gave up because he wanted his kitty cat back. And he felt like my feelings weren't at the proper level at this moment. It was pathetic. And then between the art and animation, the art, I will say that the art was still looking alright. The art actually looked decent for the most part. But what the fuck was up with the animation when Natsu was fighting all the fodder, which again, they're giving in-canon filler to Natsu fighting fodder, but they won't do that for the Laxus versus Jura 3 punches or any of the other shit, Erza and Minerva. but they want to have him fighting fodder. But the animation, it looked like Flash animation when he was punching. The art looked good, yes, and you got to distinguish the two. The art is how it looks, and the animation is the movement. The movement is like, first of all, they want to use those shitty backgrounds, and I noticed when Fairy Tail, when they want to do cheap things, they make the whole background disappear, and then they have it like speed blitzing. It looks like all those lights are passing, and then it just looked like Flash animation when he was punching. And a few different times, the animation was just really off in this episode. It was like one thing after another with this episode. I honestly believe that they could have changed a lot of people's minds regarding the Laxus and Jura situation if they would have dedicated an entire episode to it, giving some in-canon filler. And Hiro Massimo works very closely with the anime, so they could have even had him on board to give some new techniques that he felt maybe he could have added in there. And bam, I think they could have changed some people's minds. Because, in all honesty, I wasn't like annoyed by him even saying, oh, I'm fired up, because that showed character development and him being closer to his friends and not being a dick already. That was actually a character development moment. Call it corny, because yeah, why the fuck are you quoting Natsu? You're supposed to be Big Laxus, you're the big homie. But nonetheless, I get what it was for. It was for character development. But 3 fucking punches? What? And ultimately, Fairy Tail won the Grand Magic Games all in one episode. Every last fucking fight that was there was done and finished. And they just shouldn't have done that. I think it would have been so much better if we would have got a full-on fight with maybe some in-canon filler bits here or there of other things with each last battle. Erza versus Minerva. Ruvia moment, it was good and all. Maybe not an entire episode. Maybe they could have spread that around while like the serious fights is going on, the Laxus versus Jura, then you cut back to that or something like that. That would have been interesting. But the way they handled this, it wasn't only the manga this time. The anime, the pacing that they took of just splashing everything in it, the animation, this episode. I was going to skip this episode because, first of all, I got a lot of things that I want to talk about besides this, and this was just atrocious, but I was like, fuck it. Let me give my final impression, because at the very least, one thing we could say, a sigh of relief, is that the Grand Magic Games is over, and for the most part, the following arc, the upcoming arc after this, the events that is about to take place, at the very least, is better than this arc. So I'm glad about that. And overall, it's just like, I don't know what the fuck the anime was doing with this week's episode. It was just disgusting. It was like, I will give it a point for the art, or half a point for the art, because I usually do the art and animation. I give half. When I'm looking at what I'm gonna give the animation in terms of the overall score, I go art and animation, and then I divide, because I think they both are a great purpose within the overall visuals. So the art was good. It looked good. Some progression in the Jubia moment, and some progression with the Laxus saying I'm fired up, showing that he cares for his people now. But that only goes so far, and I'm giving this episode 2.5 out of 10. Those little inklings of stuff gets it to a 2.5 out of 10. That's it. That's it. Because this episode was atrocious. Worst episode of Fairy Tail since it's been back. And just overall, it was disgusting. One of the worst episodes I've seen of anything in a while. It was disgusting. The anime could have took these moments, could have made Sting say something a little bit different, could have altered things to make it look a little bit nicer. Still in the manga, Sting quitting regardless of what. He's a fucking crusty piece of shit for it. But they could have made it a little bit different. But the anime chose to stick by and make these things even worse. Like Laxus versus Jura, I enjoyed it more in the manga, and people absolutely hated it in the manga. That's a testament to how they approach this with the anime. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Final impressions on the GMG. It's finally over. We can move forward with some of the new events. Hisui is about to activate the Eclipse project and everything, seemingly. So we have things moving forward now away from this stuff. But just your final impression on this. The animation, the squeezing of all the fights into one, the 3 hitters, so many things was wrong with this episode. 2.5 out of 10. And 2.5 out of 10, if you don't know my scores, is like, once you go below 5, 4 is bad, 3 is very bad, 2 is terrible, and 1 is appalling. So it gets a terrible plus, if you want to go by that logic. It gets between terrible and very bad. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That would be awesome. I'm Finette World, and as always, people, have an awesome day.